Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now I don't know if you've seen, but Oleksandr Usyk has been putting on some size since his move up to heavyweight. He now weighs around 230 pounds, or 105 kilos. So he is clearly putting on the timber as he moves into the heavyweight division. Of course, he's had 2 fights at heavyweight, one against Chaz Weatherspoon, one against Derek Chisora. Now, I'm wondering about this weight gain for Usyk, and I mean, it's mostly all muscle. He doesn't look fat or anything like that. He hasn't gained anything other than muscle. Maybe a few pounds of fat, but that is to be expected when putting on that kind of size. Now, while it might seem like he's gone from 200 pounds to 230 because obviously he was in the cruiserweight division, it's not going to be necessarily 30 pounds because he will weigh in at 200 pounds for the cruiserweight division but then rehydrate back up. So given what we have seen from Usyk, I would imagine it's more along the lines of perhaps between 15 and 20 pounds, maybe not even that. I wouldn't imagine it's as much as 30 pounds, but still 230 pounds is quite a bit heavier than he would have been weighing in a cruiserweight matchup. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a good idea for someone coming up from cruiserweight to try and be a bigger heavyweight. I mean, he's never going to be along the lines of Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua, even Dillian White, who actually weighs in usually heavier than AJ, even though he is smaller. But he is a natural heavyweight. Oleksandr Usyk is a natural cruiserweight coming up to heavyweight, so his attributes and his game plan will be different compared to a normal heavyweight. What he needs to do is use his advantages, his attributes, to benefit him, so his speed, his movement, his endurance as well, those are things he can use to his advantage to benefit him in there with a bigger heavyweight, because he's never going to be the big man in the fight because he's coming up from a lower weight class. So every time he fights someone in the heavyweight division, I mean, given he's going to be fighting someone like Tyson Fury, Joyce, Anthony Joshua, those kind of fighters, he's always going to be the small man. So the worst thing he can do is try and be the bigger man. I mean, it's not like he's necessarily trying to be the bigger man, but he is trying to be bigger than just a cruiserweight. And I'm not entirely convinced that that is the best approach for Usyk, because his attributes rely on certain things, fundamentals, his movement, his agility, his speed. He's not the powerfulest of punchers. He's got good pop, but I wouldn't imagine it's anywhere near the bigger guys. Putting on a bit of extra weight will benefit that, but only so much. Punching power is something that comes naturally, just as taking punches as well. His punch resistance will be a little bit better having extra weight. But the problem is, what happens when he has to try and drag the bigger man into deep waters? Because if he has to do that and he cannot put a dent into his opponent, then he's going to really find it difficult to make anything significant happen in that contest. That's why sometimes being a bit smaller, a bit lighter, I mean, we saw what David Haye was able to do coming up from cruiserweight, and the difference was with Haye is he did have that potent punching power that came up with him to heavyweight. With Usyk, he doesn't have that, and he's never going to have it. What I'm thinking about is all the things that make Oleksandr Usyk so dangerous, so awkward, so tricky and difficult in the boxing ring he could be taking away by putting on this extra weight. I mean, he might be alright, but I'm just wondering how it can be a benefit for him. Perhaps in the Derek Chisora fight, he didn't feel he was strong enough. I mean, he did kind of try to fight the way Chisora wanted to, but he didn't really come out on top. I mean, if Chisora had gotten the decision, would you be all that mad? I mean, Usyk didn't do bad in the fight, and it wasn't like it was a beatdown or anything like that, and it was a robbery. But still, if Chisora got a draw, we're not going to dispute that. So against Derek Chisora, when Chisora was being rough with him, was being tough, and Usyk tried to fight the same way at times, he wasn't able to come out on top. So maybe he is wondering if he puts on a little bit of extra weight, then it will make it easier for him to be able to do that in a boxing ring with a bigger heavyweight, like say AJ, Tyson Fury, Joyce, when they get up close and they are in the clinch. Perhaps being a little bit heavier will benefit him against Joyce, because Joyce isn't the fastest of heavyweights. Against Tyson Fury, against AJ, he doesn't want to be too heavy and there to be hit, because they both are fast and powerful. Anthony Joshua, a very explosive puncher, and At some point, Usyk is going to get caught. If he's got that extra weight on, he's not going to be moving as well. But against Joe Joyce isn't as fast and as explosive as AJ or Fury. So therefore, maybe being a bit heavier, and especially in the clinch, that will benefit him. So perhaps he is working towards a game plan that he will execute for Joe Joyce, and that is the reason behind him putting on a little bit of extra weight. Plus, it's not like he's just gained all of this weight overnight. I mean, it would be a gradual thing. What did he weigh in for against Chisora? That would be quite interesting. Let's just check that. Okay, he weighed in at 217.25 pounds. So he's gained, give or take, 13 pounds since the Chisora fight, which is around a stone. So he has gained a significant amount of weight. A stone can make all the difference, especially if his game plan is to move. But the question is, would his game plan be to move against Joe Joyce? I mean, you would imagine that he would try to confuse him, to befuddle him, and make it difficult for him to land, offer him angles, because Joe Joyce isn't the fastest, as we explained earlier. So it would be easier for him to make him fall short, to make him miss and make him pay. I'm just wondering whether he believes that Joe Joyce will just keep coming and wear him down, to grab hold of him, make it rough, make it tough, and just use his advantages. Perhaps that is the reason behind him gaining a little bit extra. I mean, he doesn't really know who he's going to be fighting next. He wants to fight AJ, but it seems like Undisputed will happen, so therefore he will fight Joe Joyce. Even though he would rather be facing Anthony Joshua for the unified titles, that doesn't seem to be possible because the WBO have ordered him to fight Joe Joyce for the interim status, whilst Undisputed goes ahead. So it seems like it will be Joe Joyce next for Oleksandr Usyk, and perhaps the game plan he is going to execute is the reason behind him gaining this extra weight. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.